Hello, everyone. Welcome to the first episode of the Breaking Point podcast. Today, we're here with Holly Cove, who is someone who I used to go to school with, and she is a coach. And we're just going to have a chat, an informal chat about things. Holly's going to give a little introduction to herself. I'll give an introduction to what the podcast is going to be about. And yeah, how are you doing today, Holly? You good?
Yeah, I'm very good. Thanks. Thanks for having me on on your podcast. I'm very excited to be the first guest.
No, the
It's
first
very
guest.
exciting.
You're a big deal. It's a big thing. So, Holly, give us a bit of why are you interested in personal growth and development, and what brought you to it? What experiences did you go through? Why do you think it's important? Do you think it's important, or are you just doing it for the banter? What's going on
Yeah,
here?
I don't think it's that important.
Okay.
Good question. Yeah, very good question. So, let me think. What was the first question you asked? Why are you interested in it? That was
Yeah,
the
why
first
are you
one, wasn't
interested in it? Yeah.
it? So, I'm interested in all things mindfulness, self-development, spirituality, really because I kind of don't think that there's anything more important in life, because I know when I've been struggling with my mental health and feeling low, like when you don't have your mental health in a good place, like you don't really have anything else.
Mhm.
Like we experience everything in life through the filters that we're putting on reality.
Yeah.
It's not actually about what's going on externally. Like you could be in the most amazing place externally with all the circumstances lining up, but you could still feel awful inside. And I actually remember this one like standout moment. It was like it's
Good.
going to
That's
be a
what I
core
was going to
memory.
ask you. That so that's perfect. I was going to ask you, was there a break? What's your breaking point?
Oh yeah, breaking point. Good question. Well, it doesn't sound that dramatic, really. I mean, there's a couple I'd say. I think the first major one for me was I'd always dreamt of traveling, and basically I had this idea in my head that you can't be sad when you're traveling. Like I just thought it was the epitome of life. Like no one can
Yeah.
be sad when they're traveling. So I did a gap year, and typical gap year, went to Southeast Asia. And I remember being on the beach in Thailand, and I was traveling with one of my friends, and we weren't really getting on that well. And I remember just sat on this beach surrounded by so many people and in this gorgeous location. And I felt just so lonely, like so unbearably lonely. And I was like, how can I be sad when I'm here? Like, I don't understand
Mm.
how I can be. And I genuinely like almost booked a flight home. Like I was so close to just being like, I can't do this. Like I need to go home. But I didn't. Like I stuck with it. And I'd say that was kind of a breaking point because it really reframed like how I live my life, really. Because now, and I mean, that was a few years ago. So it wasn't like suddenly I get it all.
Yeah.
But I feel like through everything that I've done between then and now, I now, through like learning to be a coach and really delving into my own like healing journey,
Mhm.
now I'm so much more present in my own experience and understand that I understand to not live for the future, to not pin my happiness to like a future moment, like, oh, I know I'm going to be okay inside when I reach XYZ. It's like, well, actually, I need to be happy now because the future doesn't exist, the past doesn't exist. All we have is right now. So, how can I make this moment the best it can be? How can I make my mental health the best it can be for what's going on right now? Yeah.
That's brilliant. That makes a
I
lot of
don't know if
sense.
that answers all of the questions that you asked.
No, I'd say it does pretty much. Yeah. So you were on a beach and you had a bit of an aha moment, and you were just
Mm.
sort of like, oh, this isn't kind of what I was expecting it to be. There's a great saying which I love, which is I can't remember what it is exactly, but it's something like it's easy for someone to achieve their I think it's like it's easy for someone to achieve their dreams than to relinquish them. In other words, it's so much harder for someone to let go of what they think is would be the best, the panacea, the best thing that they could ever do. it's easier for someone to achieve it than it is for them to let it go with because they spend their whole time thinking, oh, I just need this one thing to make
Hmm.
everything better. But that makes a lot of sense. So what?
Yeah, go on.
Yeah, you go.
I was going to say that's I think that's the key thing with manifestation and where the conversation kind of goes a bit wrong, because yes, you can manifest all these amazing things in life, but don't attach your happiness
Yeah,
and your sense of being okay in yourself to achieving those things.
yeah,
It's okay to want things and desire things, but do it from a place of being fully healed. And that, I say that like it's easy to get there, but like it's a lifelong journey, really,
yeah,
healing and learning to
definitely.
accept all of yourself. But yeah, manifesting from a place for basically not being too attached to the
Yeah,
outcome, like creating and manifesting from a place of because I can and because it's fun and because I'm living this human experience, rather than I'm not going to be okay until I have this thing in my
yeah.
life.
That's a staple part of manifestation, isn't it? The whole idea of disattachment. And it's like if you plant a seed, you can't dig it up every day to check if it's growing. You just have to let the seed be in the ground and stay. And but it's hard because we're not a seed and we want to dig up the ground and everything. And you've got to find that balance of pursuing something, manifesting it, not being too attached to it, but also not. I don't know. Manifestation is a really. Have you watched The Secret?
I haven't watched it,
I
but
haven't watched it.
I
You've read the
haven't watched
book.
it.
Okay, fair
I've
enough.
read the
Yeah.
book, and actually it was the
There we go.
very first spiritual self-help book I ever
Was it?
read. My parents got me The Secret to Teen Power. They wrote a version of it just for like teenagers, and my parents gave it to me when I was like 14 and I read it.
And
So I'm
it's
familiar with it. But yeah, go on.
no, I was just wondering because that's like they've made a second one, but that's like the manifestation sort of thing that everyone goes to. It's like the Bible of manifestation, I suppose, isn't it? In some ways, or the first production that was released, sort of professional production that was released around it. But yes,
Mm,
it's interesting documentary, I suppose. Yeah. So
yeah.
you leave Bali, you're what, 19?
Yes. I was
And
18 and then I came back. Yeah, yeah, just yeah, basically was about to turn 19.
okay. And then you went to uni to do a is that
Drama
the
degree.
drama degree. Yeah.
Yes. So I did a drama degree, and that was an interesting choice. And I'm really glad. I feel very lucky that my parents have always been of the opinion like, just do what makes you happy. Don't think about where it's going to lead, what job prospects it's going to have, whatever. And in a way, I'm so grateful for that, because my degree was the most fun
Yeah.
ever. I had so much fun.
Brilliant.
Um, and it was really eye-opening, and I think it really helped my growth because it pushed me so far outside of my comfort zone. Like I remember in the induction on the induction day, we're in like a class of 30 people. Everyone is trying to obviously like be the best and kind of show
Go on.
off to the
Yeah.
new teacher and show that they're prove themselves at
Present themselves
uni
in a
in a
good
good
light.
way.
Yeah.
And the teacher or the lecturer made us walk around the room, and then she'd shout a vegetable or an object, and we had to be that object. And when I
Brilliant.
say be, like literally embody it in every way, like sounds and everything. And then she'd pick two people, she'd just like point to two people, and they had to basically have like a competition to see who could do it, who could do their broccoli
Wow.
the best. And I think I almost had a panic attack in that in that
Yeah.
room.
I mean,
It was, yeah, it was intense. It was
what sound
intense.
does a broccoli make?
I really don't know. I couldn't tell you right now.
What sound would a broccoli make?
Well, that's the thing. You just got to kind of make it up. And I think it was good for 19-year-old me, because
Yeah,
you just had to leave your inhibitions at the door.
absolutely. Think
and
about
just
sorry, carry on.
and just kind of absolutely go for it, because you were going to look like a fool either way. Like if you didn't try that much, you'd also look stupid as
Yes,
if you
exactly.
fully went for it.
Yeah,
So it really kind of, I think it's definitely been part of my journey to, I'm still working on it, but
yeah.
being actually
We all are.
myself, and yeah, being fully authentic in everything that I do.
Yeah. Imagine how many people would benefit from doing some kind of like acting expression sort of workshop or something where they learn to release themselves and let go of the barriers they put around themselves, and how it's like in do you know the film Fight Club?
I do. I can't believe I'm going to say this, but I actually haven't seen it.
That's all right. That's not a big deal.
Okay.
Um, that's fine.
That's fine.
Yeah, that's fine. But
We can
Fight
forget
Club
that.
is all about letting go of the barriers and the sort of the blockades that you put around ourselves in society, and just being free and expressing ourselves and not caring what people think and stuff like that. And he goes on this journey of becoming the a very controlled and, I guess, sort of conservative, but not in the political sense way. And then he sort of liberated, and there's more to it like that. It's a great film. Anyone
Mm.
hasn't seen Fight Club, go and watch Fight Club. Um,
Including me,
including
clearly.
Holly,
I'll
yes,
go watch
definitely.
it as well.
But
Yeah, I think to that, like I totally agree. I think so many people would benefit from doing drama. And
definitely.
when I tell people I'm a coach, they kind of say, "Oh, like so did you do psychology as a degree?" And I'm like, "Oh, no, I did drama." But actually, and
Yeah, I
most of
never
the
thought of that. Yeah, I know what you're gonna
actually
say. Yeah, that's really
most
true.
it's so transferable, and I usually don't have time to actually go into it with people because it's
Because
fleeting conversations.
life is a drama.
Well, we're putting on roles all the
We put on
time.
roles all the time. We project roles onto people. We see the world. Humans see the world through a narrative lens, and in that sense,
Mhm.
it's why we love films and TV series and shows and plays, and it's why we love art,
Yeah.
because it's all about narratives and characters and things like that. And that's how we live our lives, even though we don't realize it, but that's what's going on. We're all playing out a drama, we're all playing out a myth. So yeah,
We are.
that's really good.
We
Carry
are.
on, talk about that
And
more.
and that's so interesting. So I think, and in essence, I kind of think that we're tapping into like what it kind of means to be spiritual, because I
Human.
well, yeah, and human as well. But I think so. So one of the spiritual teachers I listened to, called Michael Singer, if anyone's interested,
Yeah.
he said once, and it really triggered me when I first heard this.
Okay.
Um, and it took me a long while. I was like, "That's ridiculous! No, that goes against everything I've ever been told." And now I'm like, "Oh my God, it's so true." He was like, everyone thinks that the path of self-development and spirituality is to like know yourself. You got to get to know yourself. You have to know who you are. Like it's all about self-discovery, knowing who you are. And he was like, no, it's not. It's not about that at all. You shouldn't, please don't figure out who you are. You need to forget who you are. You need to forget. And
Yeah.
I was like, what? Like, no, I don't agree with this at all. But relating it back to the drama room and this room of like where we all had to be broccolis and stuff. So also in first year we had to wear like a uniform. They basically gave us a black t-shirt and black joggers, and we had to wear them, like
For
those
every
ones that they specifically gave us for all of our sessions. And it was basically to, you know, to some extent strip back all the
Yeah,
stories, so there was no judgment, everyone was equal.
homogenize you, is
And
that the word? Sort of, yeah, make you all the same. Yeah.
yeah, and it was really powerful. And I think it taps into what it kind of taps into what this spiritual teacher is saying. Like
Mm.
we think we have to get to know ourselves, but really that's just feeding like our personality and our ego more and more. Whereas if we were just like quiet and still and strip back some of those stories, we get back to like the fact that it's okay to have them, but they're not actually us. They don't define us. We don't
Yeah.
have to play into them all the time. Like we are actually the awareness behind them.
Yeah.
Um, yeah,
We got awareness
it's
behind
really
them.
cool.
That's Russell Brand talks about that a lot. I think I might have said that on our other call. He talks about the awareness, we're all consciousness experiencing awareness. But yeah,
Mm,
that's the what did you just say? Yeah, you've got to find you forget who you are to sort of become enlightened. And sort of the psychological way of looking at that is some people think you should follow your bliss to become enlightened, and that's like the
mm,
path to fulfillment. And Carl Jung, who was a very famous, so who I'll talk about a lot, very famous psychologist, said that actually it's not, it's about going to the places where you least want to look. And then
mm,
that is where you can, so you sort of, you've got to fill out the whole human structure of, I guess, the Christians would say Jesus right up at the top, and then or God, whatever, and then Satan down at the bottom, the whole spectrum of good and evil. You have to become aware of that and not just focus on the the positive things. And that's how you, once you become aware of, I don't know where I'm going. Oh fuck. Okay.
no,
Uh
you're doing well.
back on.
It's making a lot of sense.
Okay, yeah. And once you become aware of the full human spectrum for evil and good, then you can become enlightened in
Mm,
some sense. I think even if it's not enlightened, to be fair, what you spoke about makes more sense. But one of my favorite sayings is that which you most need will be found where you least want to look. I think that's a pretty
mm,
powerful saying. I think for me, I think people with mental health issues and with me with my anxiety and stuff growing up. I mean, everyone says face your fears, and we all sort of understand, yeah, face your fears. But the reason we're told that is because when you watch a horror movie and you're kind of scared, but you also want to watch it. You're like, oh, what's going on? That's because there's knowledge, there's some form of knowledge or information in the horror movie that you're trying to get to, but you're also scared of it. And I think
mm.
if you can turn your fears, if you can awaken that part of you that wants to move forward and grow beyond your fears, you can then overcome your fears and then you'll reclaim everything that your fears have taken away from you. And
Yeah, for sure.
yeah, and we have
And
9 minutes left, but that's all right. We'll do another call.
but yeah, that's so true. And the other thing is about in the spiritual community, there's a lot about like spiritual bypassing. Like you can't, and it kind of
What's that?
sounds like similar. So basically, spiritual bypassing is the idea that rather than sort of facing your shadows and the parts of you that need the work, you kind of go, oh well, I'm spiritual and like I just live in the moment and everything is just one consciousness and everything's fine. So like I don't need to deal with like I don't need to do the mess, like
Yeah.
deal with the mess.
Hmm.
um and so it's the balance of like, yes, like we are all one consciousness and really the moment is now, this is the only thing that exists, but like you still have to go back and look at those fears. And also the thing is, when you shine a light on a fear or darkness, like it turns into light, it alchemizes into light. So even just by bringing awareness to something, to a
Absolutely.
problem that you have or a fear that you have,
True.
it it brings it to light, so it no longer has that hold over you as much.
Awareness and recognition is really important. You can't
Mm,
you can't really overcome anything until you and acceptance as well. Acceptance is huge. That was one of my blog posts I wrote about acceptance and how important accepting something is in order for you to overcome it and for you to change it and for you to heal it. You have to accept it. And I'm pretty sure that's one of the, like the 12 steps in alcoholism. They've got the alcoholics overcoming alcoholism. There's 12 steps that some guys written a book or something, and it's like really well used. And one of them is acceptance that you have a problem. But
mm,
anything you need to, if you're going to get therapy for anything, you have to accept that there's a problem. The therapy,
yeah,
you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. It's like that, isn't it? So
yeah.
yes, right.
It,
This is good. Anyway, carry on.
no, acceptance acceptance is so key. I feel like that was something I was going to say and now it's completely gone out my head. And it's also accepting that you are that you have these, this stuff to work on. You've got stuff to work on, but that like so does every single human ever. Like, and also that it's the balance between like, yes, I've got work to do, but it's work I want to do.
Mm.
And also I'm totally enough just as I am right now. Like it doesn't mean that there's something wrong with me, like that I'm a bad person because of it. And I guess that is the acceptance. It's like I accept it. I accept I'm enough as I am, and that this is just a part of me. This is a part of me that I fully accept. So yeah, I love that.
What do you think makes you different? What do you think makes you the sort of person that has one of those moments and recollects over things and goes, right, and okay, as opposed to just going, oh, just let's just put some Netflix on and we'll order a takeaway and then hopefully I'll feel all right in the morning. What's made you want to explore and understand about yourself and other people? Do you think it's parents? Do you think it's in you? I mean, I've got a couple of ideas, but I want to hear what
It's
you.
that's super interesting actually. And I would say it was my parents because I've always grown up like in my household, we always like round the dinner table, we'd always talk about how we were feeling, like how other people impact how we feel and how we impact them. And like from a young age, I feel like I've been exposed to that. However, I also think there's a part that has just been a part of me that's just always been there
Yeah.
because and I'll always remember this basically when I was in preschool, the teacher said to my mum, which kind of freaked my mum out. I was like 3, and she said to my mum, she's been here before. She's been here before, and she
Wow.
knows what's going on. Like she can sense when other kids like need help or aren't being played with, and she goes over and plays with them. And so I think there's always just been this like awareness in me that of like, I don't know, something bigger, like it's a curiosity of like, you know, how can you in my head I'm like, how can you not be interested in this stuff? Like it's who we are. Everyone is dealing with their mental health, and because we all have mental health. And so I think, yeah, I've just always been so curious to like learn more and ask those big questions. I'm a very big picture person. Don't give me a spreadsheet or a maths problem.
No,
I'm
no,
not good
no.
at that.
You're an
Talk to
art.
me about what the meaning of life is, and I'm there.
Absolutely, yeah. I completely agree. You're not
What about you? Do you think you know
about what
about what's yeah, what sparks your curiosity or like what's brought you to this journey?
um you stumped me there. I'd say obviously my I've had a lot of difficulties growing up with mental health and anxiety, and there's a lot of it in my family. So I've always been aware that it's a thing. And I think maybe part of it is I think is my temperament. We talked about last time how personalities are mentioned openness. Like you, I'm very high in openness, and that makes you interested in thinking deeply about things, whereas other people just aren't. They're just not that bothered. But also maybe when you get when you're in like a state of like panic and anxiety, you have to go into your brain. You go into your brain a bit, and you go into like the parts of your brain, and it just triggers. You just I think going through sort of so much. I mean, it sounds really boo-hoo me, but going through so much difficulties at such a young age changed my way of seeing the world a little bit and made me a bit more curious about what was going on, which sounds really grandiose. And loads of kids have had it way worse. But you know what I mean. And
Mm.
it's, as a thinker, but I think a lot of people are overthinkers. And I wouldn't even. I'm getting better at overthinking. I think so that would relate back to what you said earlier about the drama and how expressing yourself and getting out of your head, into
Mm.
your body, into your spirit, or whatever it is. That's really important. But I'd say for me, yeah, that's. But I kind of similar to you. My mum said, my mum, if I think we were moving when I was very young, and my mum said you would come up to me, Ollie, you'd go, I don't like the look of this place. I don't have a good feeling about this place. And mum would go, yeah, I feel the same. I mean, it could have just been I didn't think my bedroom was big enough. So it might have just been that. But
No, you were switched on as a child. I can
yeah,
I can
yes.
tell.
No, I was switched on as a
But
child.
children really know that's the thing. We lose that childlike sort of
Yeah,
openness and like I think we get so cluttered with like all our experience and rationale and everything. Like we need to get back to how
absolutely.
we
Yeah.
were as a child and connecting with that intuition, that gut feeling of like this isn't right.
100%. There's a famous, it was either a philosopher who said his theory was we're born with all of the knowledge that we'll ever need, that there's ever had. And then as we get older, we forget it. I mean, it's a bit of an outlandish idea, but either way, there may be some merit to it in some sense.
I think there definitely
And
is.
we got a bit sidetracked there. Let's go back to
We
you
did.
after drama and after you pretended to be a vegetable for 3 years and what you
Yeah.
did after that and
Yes.
how you ended up here with your salt lamp behind you.
With the salt lamp.
With the salt lamp. That was.
Yeah. So yes, very good question. So I finished uni in last summer, so summer of 2022, and I really did not know where I was going to go
Mhm,
afterwards. I didn't have a plan. And I'm a very go with the flow person, but
mhm.
I found myself starting to get really like tense and worked up, and I had no idea, like, because I was like, I just don't know what to do. I don't know what to
Say
do.
you're sorry, I'm going to interrupt you, but you say you're a go with the flow person, but last week you said how you like to have everything in control and you don't want to start anything until it's all planned out because listeners, Holly didn't want to start the podcast until I had like this perfect plan. And I was like, no, no, it's fine. We'll just start it.
It's
And
true.
I'll just start talking. I'll laugh a bit and it will be cringe and then we'll go from there. And here we are. So we didn't do, I mean, Holly,
We didn't do, no. Do you know what?
do what Holly said
It's a
we needed
very,
to.
that's a very interesting observation of my,
Contradictory.
yeah, because
We're
because
all walking
I
contradictory.
definitely am both of those things. Like some
Yeah.
areas of my life, I'm like, they have to be so organized and so on it. But then other areas of my life, I'm like, totally go with the flow, totally chilled.
Hmm.
Um, so I wanted to be more, yeah. So anyway, I wanted to, I found myself getting quite stressed and quite
Yes.
anxious about what to do after uni. And so I decided as a little experiment
Little
that for a
experiment.
few months, I would just purposely not decide. And I would just stay completely open. And I literally kind of like asked the universe, like, show me, show me. I'm open to anything. I will be open to having any conversation, to going to any event. Just show me the way.
Hmm.
And it was
Surrender. The surrender experiment.
exactly
Yeah.
it. Have you read that book?
No.
There's a book called The Surrender
That's the
Experiment.
yeah, yeah. I know there was a book. Have you read
You
it?
definitely, yes, it's basically one of my Bibles.
Okay.
Yeah, I love it.
Okay.
So
Read the surrender experiment, people.
yeah, I would recommend, like, probably one of my number one book recommendations ever.
Wow.
Anyway, sidetracked again. Um, so I decided, yeah, to just completely surrender. And what was it? Basically, it was a really interesting few months, and I had lots of conversations with people, and I went to quite a few different events. And
My
um,
phone just fell down. My phone just fell off. That was the
oh
little.
no.
Carry on.
And interestingly, I didn't just go with exactly what was in front of me because I got an opportunity to work for a marketing agency in Manchester. And I
Hmm.
went along to like an open kind of day that they organized for me. And I spoke to everyone there. And I thought, well, this is in front of me. So maybe I should just do this. Like, this is what the universe has given me. But what I realize now is actually that opportunity. So I think this is a key lesson to learn about like surrendering, because I was like, well, surely surrendering means that I just go with this opportunity. But actually, I was given that moment because it was such a clarifying moment of like, actually, this is not aligned for me. But I
Hmm.
needed to see it and experience it to realize that. And it was like the final straw of me actually realizing, no, you actually do know what you want to do. You're just scared. It's
Hmm.
actually the fear that's holding you back, because I knew that deep down I actually wanted to pursue a career in coaching. And I just got really honest with myself and was like, if you knew someone could sit here and tell you you're going to be successful at this, what would you do? Like, what would you do if anything? And I was like, well, I would coach. That's what I would do. So I was like, right, well then, better start that journey.
Yeah.
And it was the fear of starting that was really holding me back. And all, it's been, so that was back in like September, and from then I've been on this journey of starting this business and adding to my qualifications. So I've done, if anyone knows NLP, I'm trained to master prac level in NLP, and then I also have just completed a spiritual life coaching qualification with the Dharma Coaching Institute. Makes it sound very fancy.
The
Um,
Dalai Lama,
yeah,
not with the
yeah,
Dalai Lama.
not with the Dalai Lama. I wish that would be cool. And yeah, so
Explain to people what NLP is, what it stands for, what does it involve?
yes, so to sum up, basically NLP stands for neuro linguistic programming. And it's essentially a framework for working with the subconscious mind, is the
Right.
easiest way to explain it. So it's a set of ideas and tools and techniques to understand how we how our subconscious mind is working all the time to influence our reality and what's going on around us. And it's actually very spiritual, but it's got a lot of like spiritual ideologies embedded in it, but
Hmm.
it's very practical, which is what I really
Yes.
loved about it, because I had the spiritual understanding, and then I was like, wow, here are some really tangible, practical frameworks that I can give to people who are struggling with limiting beliefs and confidence and insecurities and trauma, and actually heal them and help them with it. And it just completely blew my mind. And in the process, I've dealt with and still deal with a lot of my own fears of not being good enough,
Yeah.
fears of like not deserving it, not being capable, thinking that everyone else is better than me, you know. So it's been a very interesting journey that I'm still on, but a really great one, a really exciting one. And I'm
Definitely.
excited for everything that's to come. And I'm starting my own podcast as well. So once you've listened to this one, you can go over and check mine out. Hopefully it'll actually be up by then. It's called the Gen Zen podcast.
The Gen
It'll,
Zen podcast, ladies and gentlemen.
yeah, the Gen Zen podcast.
First guest will
So
be,
we'll be Ollie,
yes, it
of
will be.
course. So yeah, you can go and give that a listen.
Good. Perfect. I'll put a link to that. Is it going to be, what's it going to be on YouTube or Spotify?
Probably everything. Yeah,
Everything.
everything. Spotify, iTunes. Is iTunes the thing? Like the
iTunes.
podcast app.
Yeah, the podcast app,
That's
which no
that's
one
it.
used for like 5 years, that just sat on people's home screens and
Yeah. And
people
now
thought,
everyone
what even
uses
is
it.
that? And now everyone and their dog has got a podcast. But
I know.
it's not going to be as good as these two podcasts, though. So,
It's not. It's definitely not.
other than Joe Rogan podcast and the True Geordie podcast. Big up those two. Right. And you are currently living in Manchester. So
Yes, I am. Yeah, that's
That's
a good
different,
point.
isn't it? Because
It
we're not
is.
from Manchester, are we? We're both from the southeast of England. So
Yes.
I think you
Yeah,
might go
so
back to Holly. She's gone up north.
I know, to the cold up north. Although
Gone up
actually
north.
I'm finding that it's actually sunnier up here, I think. A
Really
controversial opinion, but I
controversial.
many times I've
People are nicer as
thought
well.
it's sunny up here and it's been raining like where my parents live. So I think it's a myth. I think, or either that or I just bring sunshine.
But it
Maybe
could be
that's it.
that. That would be more realistic, to be fair. Yeah.
But no, I think what's really a good point to say is um I totally manifested this whole situation like very intentionally, and it's kind of crazy to, and this is what we're talking about it's all linking back to the seed. You've got to plant the seed and then leave it to grow,
Make sure you
because
water it though.
you got to water it. You got to water
Gotta
it, but you can't
water
keep
it.
checking up on it all the
Can't keep
time.
checking up on it. No, I watch
You
Pot
just
of
got to
Oils.
trust.
You've got to allow the universe, which is the sun, to beam down on it, but you yourself have to put the water in.
Yes. And so, because when I did my NLP, my first NLP course back in
First, you've done more
summer
than one bit of show.
summer 2020, I
Because that's what I was going to ask you that. When did you do the NLP course then? But you did it in summer 2020. Okay.
yeah, that's fair. And then I did the second one, summer 2021, and then kind of didn't do anything with them for a couple of years, and then
Backed
came
off.
back to it. But it was all sinking in. It was all integrating.
Oh,
But
sinking in.
I remember on that first course, we had to do like sort of a dream outcome and embed it in our subconscious through like a visualization.
Hmm.
And I said I wanted to be living in a terraced house, and I wanted to be a coach, and I wanted to go to yoga classes and all these things and have this community around me. And the picture was really clear. And then I forgot about it, because I was like, well, I'm at uni, so that's not going to happen now. I'll just forget about it. And then what happened was, and it's a long story, which I won't bore you with, but essentially, like, nothing
Another
was
podcast.
happening. Another podcast. Nothing had happened really. And then, so this is back, by the way, this is back in 2021, let's say summer 2021. So then, a whole year and a half later, basically, October, in the space of 3 weeks, I went from having none of that to having all of it. Like,
Wow.
literally in 3 weeks, it
Yeah.
all fell into place. Like, and everything happened. Like, the way we found this
Unbelievable.
house was a crazy story, and like everything just clicked.
Yeah.
And to the outside world, they were like, "How the hell have you done that? Like, that's just, you're so lucky. That's happened just out of nowhere." I'm like, "No, you haven't seen the 2 years of work and sort of manifesting that I've put
Yeah.
into it. Like, it's been a long time coming in the universe.
Hmm.
It's just materialized very quickly."
Yeah.
Um, yeah, and I think it was quite
It's
a cool
like,
story, and it
it's
definitely restored my faith in manifestation. I was
a
like,
great story. Yeah. It's like the bamboo. It's like apparently there's some plant, maybe it's bamboo, but it like you water it or you feed it and it grows like a few inches in like a year. And then it has a period of like a month or something where it grows like 3 feet or it just goes it
mhm.
massively. It's all about that gradual build up and it's the exponential increase. Is that the word exponential? I think so, yeah.
Yes, yeah,
Slowly and then fires up like that. But yeah, that's a
yeah,
great story.
definitely.
That's a good story. So remember that story, people, when you're working hard at something and you're believing and you're trusting and surrendering and all those good things. Remember the story of Holly Anna coaching and her manifestation of that
Manifesting.
little lamp behind her, because that's what it's all really about, really.
That's what it's all about.
What
Yeah,
it's all about.
exactly.
Okay, Holly,
Awesome.
good. So I'll put your Instagram in the description and I'll put
Yeah,
maybe not on this podcast, but I mean, if you send me the link, or if not, we'll do it on the next one. And Holly will be back soon, and we
yeah. Watch
will,
this space.
yeah, exactly. Uh, Subscribe to the channel. Thank you all for watching. Hope you've enjoyed. Holly, you've been a great first guest. It's been a great
Thank you so
podcast.
much.
That's okay. And
Thanks so much for having me.
good. Have you had a good time?
Yeah, I have. This is my jam. I could talk about this all day.